We are now at Ramot Menashe area where a drone has hit and caused a multi-casualty incident. Magen David Adom team, dozens of ambulances, mobile intensive care units, and paramedics arrived at the scene, and together with additional medical corps has treated around 70 casualties.
Israel has been receiving attacks from Hezbollah for quite a while. When it comes to this, it is a blow to a certain extent, but it's kind of baked into the pie. Israel knew that it would be attacked. Israel has been launching a ground campaign within Lebanon in order to prevent these things from occurring, but within war, it's unavoidable at a certain point. This is part of a larger war, of course. This is a war between Israel and Iran and its proxies. Israel has been fighting the war on 7 fronts: on Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, the West Bank, Iraq, and Iran. But mainly the big development is probably in the court of public opinion. Many people cry genocide in Lebanon when this is just a limited ground invasion. People are already leaping to bounds to create this sort of narrative within the war. Meanwhile, people neglect to mention that Hezbollah fired over 300 projectiles into Israel on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar. In the past 2 weeks, there were a barrage of ballistic missiles that rained over Israel from Iran. There was a terror shooting in Jaffa. And Israel has been pushing back against Hezbollah ever since Hezbollah has been attacking Israel since the day after the October 7th massacre. 70,000 people have been displaced from the north. But the aim of the operation, according to the military and Israeli politicians, is to return the people home. Whether that will happen in the near future, no one can tell for sure, because even though Israel has taken out their arch foe in Nasrallah, they haven't really depleted the fighting forces, as you saw by the attack on the Golani. There's been talk about Israel potentially striking oil facilities within Iran. The U.S. has been reticent to allow that to happen. However, they did deploy the THAAD anti-ballistic missile system to Israel to make sure that Israel has its defenses. Israel has a wide capability. There have been some leaders, including Naftali Bennett, who have said it's a perfect time to take out the nuclear facilities within Iran. However, a lot of this is sort of mind games, the ability to create a deterrence from future attacks from Iran. So it's tough to tell what the Israelis are going to do next, because that's sort of within their paradigm. They don't want Iran, they don't want to telegraph their attacks. But there are plenty of politicians who are aching for a reprisal attack to make sure that Israel retains its deterrence. Well, I think it shows the strength of the Israeli-American alliance. Despite the qualms that the leaders may have about each other, being Netanyahu and Biden, there's still a strong, necessary alliance between the two. That despite all that happens, there is a need for them to come together and defend against a hostile enemy in Iran. On Thursday, there was a strike at a school-turned-shelter. They named 12 alleged terror operatives, including Nukba forces, who took part in the October 7th attack. The Palestinian Crescent said the strike on the school complex killed 28 people and wounded 54 others. Of course, those numbers don't differentiate between civilians and combatants. Israel says that Hamas and other terror groups routinely use schools, shelters, and other protected facilities for their operations and use the civilians as human shields. And that's another situation that Israel has to confront in its battle to deter against groups like Hamas, like Islamic Jihad, in order to make sure that Israel returns to some sort of semblance of normalcy. Sinwar has long been the head of the snake, so to say, in terms of the Hamas leadership, and it's been very difficult to keep tabs on him because he's been sort of incommunicado for a long time. There were reports that he may have had some sort of connection, some sort of communication with the Qataris, but those were unverified reports. and he remains to be a very elusive figure, given that he takes pains to revolve himself around hostages. He can't be attacked without there being severe reprisals from the Israeli public, who, of course, care very much about the hostages, and it's a big concern among Israeli civilians. However, if Israel were to get Sinwar, it would be a huge boost to the morale of the Israeli military and the Israeli civilian population.
אני נמצא פה בבסיס צבאי במרכז הארץ, סמוך לבנימינה. סמוך לשעה 7 בערב, כלי טייס בלתי מאויש של חיזבאללה חודר מלבנון ופוגע פה בבסיס הזה. תוצאות קשות, יש נפגעים. בשלב שאנחנו נמצאים פה עכשיו, שליטה מבצעית מלאה על האירוע, כל הנפגעים פונו לבתי החולים. אנחנו עכשיו עסוקים בליצור קשר עם משפחותיהם. כל החיילים בבסיס הונחו להתקשר הביתה ולעדכן את משפחותיהם שהם בסדר. אנחנו מנהלים את האירוע, אנחנו נלמד ונתחקר את האירוע, כיצד כלי טייס בלתי מאויש חודר ללא התראה ופוגע פה בבסיס. איום כלי הטייס הבלתי מאוישים הוא איום שאנחנו מתמודדים איתו מתחילת המלחמה. אנחנו נדרשים להביא הגנה טובה יותר, אנחנו נתחקר את האירוע הזה, נלמד ונשתפר. התפקיד שלנו להגן טוב יותר על חיילינו ועל אזרחי מדינת ישראל.